Yo, guys, Urban Barz brings you the best UK reactions to rap, hip hop, and urban music from all around the world. Guys, I'm not even going to beat around the bush here at Urban Barz. We got our man DAX, and he's just dropped Eternity. Let's check it out. Oh, oh. I love this already, people. We got the world view. I just wish I had my globe out there, people. Oh my gosh. DAX.
And when you really examine the concept of eternity, one will find that there is no end. Life after death is a concept humans still don't understand.
Car hat. So is this the story of DAX? I don't know. But he said life after death is a concept that humans just don't understand. It's not tangible. They can't get their head around it, people.
That humans still don't understand.
How long is eternity? I don't understand. Some say forever, but if it's forever, then when does it come to an end? It's more than a concept, an infinite time that we spend. It confirms that our lives here on earth are a blip of existence and don't make a dent. As we get older, it creeps in our mind, the thought of the end and beginning of time. The life that we thought that we lived doesn't matter, approaching the thought that someday we all die. I get confused when I look in the sky. What is this water hitting my eyes? Maybe the rain is the pain and shame that hits earth when God cries. As we get older, we don't care what we did. It's not the things we receive, but the things we give. We try to go back to the time we were kids, but those shoes no longer fit. And then we finally realize that everyone dies, but not.
Guys, the bass was so prominent in there. Dax's voice went down in the mix. Was it on my speakers or did you get the same effect there, guys? And then his voice came back just now at the front of the mix. So I'm just going to wheel that back, guys. I'm sorry, I'm just going to wheel that back and let's see if that was the case.
An infinite time that we spend. It confirms that our lives here on earth are a blip of existence and don't make a dent. As we get older, it creeps in our mind, the thought of the end and beginning of time. The life that we thought that we lived doesn't matter, approaching the thought that someday we all die. I get confused when I look in the sky. What is this water hitting my eyes? Maybe the rain is the pain and shame.
She's the girl.
That hits earth when God cries. As we get older,
see, look, they just passed their degree. So this is Dax. He's just got his degree. I don't know what age it is in America people get their degrees, but normally in the UK, it's when you're around about the age of 21. If you do a master's, it's an extra 2 years on top of that.
It's not the things we receive, but the things we give.
So this is the girl that was in the picture. Well, in the picture, in the in the earlier piece. You see them growing up. So this is her. She's just graduated. Doesn't look as happy though, is it? You know, when you just graduated, you'd have thought you'd be absolutely ecstatic. I don't know.
The things we receive, but the things we give. We try to go back to the time we were kids, but those shoes no longer fit. And then we finally realize that everyone dies, but not everyone lives.
Whoa.
So I'm taking a chance. I'm living my life in the moment and not in a future that's not in my hands. I'm giving my time to the people who love me for everything that I am. I'm living my life in reality, not for a post that they'll tap when they open the gram. I'm doing whatever it takes. I'm not gonna dwell on my past mistakes. I'm bridging the gap between my dreams and what I see while I'm awake. They say leave it up to fate. Well, fate favors those who take. Cause if it
leave it up to fate,
and all this is temporary, why wait?
Leave it up to fate.
He obsessed the price of material things, but at what cost? Then treat time like currency and spend it for applause because we think that life is just.
I love that. To see Dax there. So this is almost like the human rat race, isn't it? We're on the treadmill on a road to nowhere. Can't remember what pop group said that song. I've forgotten. So apologies for that. We're on the road to nowhere. So it's almost like the carrot and the stick. So he's working all the hours, running around, running himself ragged just to get the reward of the money, which is always just out of reach, just out of reach, people. And then by the time you realize your life is almost, and you think to yourself, you wasted so much time. You've got DAX here, like the fisherman here, just tempting him. I love this view. It's fantastic. I'm just going to wheel it back a bit, people.
Assess the price of material things, but at what cost? Then treat time like currency and spend it for applause, because we think that life is just a game we can turn on and off. We build, we break, renew, replace. We 9 to 5 and count the days for 40 years till 65, then live off what our pension pays.
And that's what I was just saying. You count the years, 40 years, 45 years of just constant work. And at the end of it, what have you got? You've got a pension, a pittance to live on. By the time you retire, unless you've taken early retirement, if you're lucky enough, you've got nothing to look forward to death, because you're exhausted. You're absolutely ravaged. All that work you've done, you thought you're going to live to have a great life in retirement. You're too tired to enjoy your retirement. My goodness, people, what are we here for?
On and off, we build, we break, renew, replace. We 9 to 5 and count the days for 40 years till 65, then live off what our pension pays. We fall in line as mental slaves. Our bodies work, our minds are caged, and that's why people say,
oh, our bodies work, our minds are caged. Did you say our minds are a cage? We're encaged in our minds? We're trapped?
65, then live off what our pension pays. We fall in line as mental slaves. Our bodies work, our minds are caged, and that's why people say the richest place you'll find is at the graves, full of hopes and dreams that people never chased, full of feelings that we felt but never got to say. All the thoughts inside our heads that we kept stored and locked away. As our age increased and we got old and everything decayed, and when we finally realized that our whole life was not a game, and that time was a commodity that we could not regain, and that we were in control and there was no one else to blame, is the day that we change. It's eternity, no way, no way. Eternity, no way, no way. It's eternity, no way. Eternity, no way. It's eternity, no way, no way. It's eternity, no way, no way. It's eternity, no way. Eternity, no way.
What are you doing with your time? What is your definition of happiness? Are you giving more than you're taking?
Oh, that's...
And finally...
He looks a bit like Osama bin Laden. I'm sorry, people. Is it Osama bin Laden? I always get him mixed up with Barack Obama. I always call them the same, mix them up, but Osama bin Laden.
If it were to all end right now,
Whoa.
what are you holding on to?
Look at the man in the mirror.
That you need to let the world see?
Whoa. Guys, that is just like a pep talk. And that is a pep talk to me as well. You go around having all these hopes and dreams and say, yeah, I'm going to work really hard, and in 5 years I'm going to be doing this, or 6 years I'll be doing that, this, that, and the third. And all the time you don't realize time is ticking behind us and it's moving well in front of us. So those 5, 6 years, you look around, the next minute is 10 years and you ain't done nothing. Oh my goodness. He's saying you really need to make a change and to decide really what you want to do and just go for it, people. Because time waits for no man, as the saying says, or no woman, if you want to be politically correct. But it's so true. And I think, people, that if you have a dream, you've got hopes, you've got fears, you've got all sorts of anything that you're thinking of. Remember, this world, this life is finite. Like our man Dax was saying, it's an eternity. But for us living on this earth, we have a finite and a very short. That's why they call it the quick and the dead. We have a very, very short time on this earth, people, to do all we want. People say, is it 80 years? No, not even 80 years. I'm talking about 80 years and 10, if you're lucky. If you're lucky, you might get 80 years. But in 80 years and 10, people, we're born. If you're lucky enough, you have a family, settle down, have a family, and then you look forward, if you're lucky enough again, to retire, have grandchildren, etc., etc., and then we pass. But in that time goes so quickly, people. So all those hopes and dreams. So when you were graduated, I'm not sure what age it is in America that people graduate, but say you're very early 20s. The problem with the graduation, though, in the last so many years is people graduate with enormous amounts of debt. So you spend the next few years after graduation trying to repay your education, the debt that's been mounted from your education. So that is another noose around your neck. And then if you're lucky enough for that, you get a mortgage, which is another noose around your neck. So you're always trapped into something. You're trapped into a system. You're trapped into a rat race. And you think, if I might get a better job, I'd have to do some more education. So you go more into debt, paying for more bills, etc., etc. And then when you look at the Joneses, I have to have this car, I have to have this house, this, that, and the third. All these areas, people, are leading us to we have to work to repay all these things. So we're not really enjoying our life as we were supposed to. When we were put in this earth, we were supposed to enjoy this world, people. But in some ways, we have to work all the days of our life. And by the time you finish, I know so many people who were working towards retirement, and so many, I shouldn't say so many, but quite a few that I've known and I've been told about. I've known people drop dead on the day they retired. So what was it for? You worked all the days of your life just to expire? Really? We need to look at this work-life balance. We need to look at all DAX was saying. Because the first thing I noticed in that as well was when they graduated, there were no smiles. And that's quite sad because I remember when I was young, I had so much to look forward to. Everyone has hopes and dreams. And you'd have thought by graduating, you'd have thought that would have been your passport, your key to your future. What went wrong, people? Maybe I'm surmising too much. Let me know down here in the comment section. But that is really food for thought, eternity. And the other food for thought about the eternity question is, and I've been thinking about this ever since I read, I didn't see, I read The Green Mile, Stephen King, years before it was made into the film. That was just fantastic. Can you imagine if you have, well, I'm not saying he had eternal life, but when our man, the big dude, saved the prison guard, if you want to call it, prison officer, he laid his healing hands on him. He gave him long, long life. But with long, long life, what happened? He became old enough to see his children grow up, marry, and die before him. And then the grandchildren grow up, marry, die. I don't want that as an eternity. No, I want a finite life. I want one where, however many years, 3 score years and 10, 4 score years and whatever, or whatever is granted to me, I have a good life, and I have a life that on my deathbed, I'm happy and say, you know what, it was a good life. I don't want to be living to 100, 200, 300 years old. No, that's not me. Trust me on that, people. Trust me on that. I have a finite life and I'm happy with that. But let's get back to DAX and eternity. Guys, that was fantastic. I don't know if it was my system or it was the video itself. I'm not sure, but his voice was up and down in the mix. Maybe that was done purposely. Sometimes it was right at the front. Sometimes it was towards the back, the middle, the end. Who knows? But yeah, that got me thinking, people. That got me thinking. An eternity. Boy, an eternity is a long time, people. There is finite and there's infinite. And I think I would always steer on the finite path. Because even thinking about it as well, if you know life is short and time is short, people say time is money, time is short. You best get moving, best get to stepping, best get to doing all those things that you set yourself. If you say to yourself in 3, 4 years' time, cut it down to 2 years, cut it down to a year and a half. Keep cutting the time down. Get those time frames much shorter. Get those time frames much shorter, because if you set yourself a goal, 5 years time, there's too much that will happen in 5 years. But make sure it's shorter, and you may get something. Set yourself some milestones along the way, people, and tick them off. Anyway, that's just me. Really. Guys, that was DAX, that was eternity, and that was me here at Urb'n Barz, just shooting the breeze, people, and just thinking about a few things that song just triggered in my head. I never ever listen or watch these songs before they come up and I react to them. So I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. Sometimes I've got lots to say. Sometimes I've got nothing to say. Sometimes I just talk. Really, I have no idea what I'm going to say, people. But that was DAX. That was eternity. Guys, look after yourselves. Look after each other. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to my channel here at Urb'n Barz, please. But even more importantly than all of that, guys, make sure and make certain you come back to the next Urb'n Barz reaction, guys.